Tracy Renee Twyman died on July 9, 2019 at 40 years of age. Born in Kansas City, August 28, 1978, to Thomas Clark Twyman and her mother, Dwayna Michelle Tracy. This is the opening paragraph of the obituary for Tracy Twyman, who was a well-known occult and conspiracy researcher. It goes on to briefly describe Tracy's lifelong passion with journalism and her research into the occult and conspiracy subjects, which resulted in a large number of published books and articles. When I heard that Tracy Twyman had died, to be honest, I was a little bit shocked, because I knew some of her work from various YouTube podcasts and interviews, and I always enjoyed listening to whatever new information she had dug up. And that's really what made her so interesting. She was always finding new and interesting intrigues. She seemed to genuinely have a passion for journalism and was a talented researcher and writer. And she always dug deep, burying herself in whatever rabbit hole she came across. Now, usually when I hear about this sort of tragedy, the death of a personality in the conspiracy or the paranormal world, I try not to jump on the bandwagon of paranoia, screaming, "They did it," the Illuminati. But Tracy's death really caught my attention. There has been no public confirmation, but the rumors suggest that Tracy may have taken her own life. And so with that in mind, I present the following as speculation only. She was young. She was only 40 years old, and she had a husband and a child. I know that suicide can be totally unpredictable, and often there's no sign that a person is even thinking about it. But there are some compelling circumstances in Tracy's case that makes me think that there might really be something conspiratorial and possibly even paranormal about her death. The following all happened in mid-2018, and this information was released as a dead man switch after her death. Twyman had been looking into what she believed was encoded child trafficking information that she found in certain YouTube videos and comments.
When I discovered this code that led me to discovering all of these obvious child trafficking videos on YouTube, and by that I mean they were listing videos and perhaps the children themselves also for sale. When I get into all the details, but I just, the material was gathered and reported at the time. I've had to take down the online versions of what I gathered.
She gathered her evidence and tried to report it to the FBI, but the FBI ignored her. She claims she had evidence of a school near Yorkshire in England that was used to prostitute students and was creating YouTube videos to advertise in a coded manner to those in the know, and also find clients and trade information through the comments section. Sometimes the videos were also used to threaten the children involved, reminding them to keep their mouths shut. It was during this time that a trusted friend of Twyman's turned against her in a bizarre way. A friend of hers called Kyle Prindiville, who was an old online friend of Twyman's, became interested and got involved with the research into the online child traffickers. He was in daily communication with Tracy for about 5 days regarding the research, and then he suddenly turned on her. At the same time that Kyle turned, her computer and phone were hacked, and her online communications were compromised, and she was threatened and harassed online. Using imagery, audio, and information captured through her phone and her computer, the harassers proved that they knew everything about her and her family. They sent photos of her kid and information about his school and that sort of thing. Out of the blue one day, the day he turned on her, Kyle called Twyman and tried to convince her over the phone that it was actually a demon harassing her through the computer. A demon conjured by CERN and given access to an advanced AI which it possessed and then was set loose on the internet.
He said that some Satanists had conjured a demon through CERN in Switzerland, and then it got into some AI computers, or they put it there deliberately, and that those demons running rampant through AI computers were loose on the internet doing the devil's work, and that's what we were encountering there. And he talked about this as though he knew exactly what he was talking about, whereas before he and I had been supposedly in the dark researching things from the same position of ignorance, trying to figure things out. This time he calls me and says this, with it as though it was absolutely certain, and then he starts kind of laughing about it maniacally. And then he told me that I had to be tortured. I was Mercury and I had to be tortured. And then he used a metaphor, told me what the metaphor meant exactly, that it had to do with dying and your soul going to the other side. And then he told me that that's what I needed to do. He essentially told me to kill myself.
Twyman discovered later that soon after this, Kyle was admitted to a psych ward against his will due to a paranoid mental breakdown. Approximately 2 hours after the phone conversation with Kyle, Twyman received an email from a person called Jamie Espy.
Jamie Espy says to me, "Dear Tracy Twyman, I hope this email finds you safe and sound. Hey, listen, could you call off your Facebook phone friend, Kyle? I serious. I was only trying to help you with our protection ritual. And your friend Kyle," look how he puts it in all caps. Your friend Kyle. Your friend, Kyle. Kyle has twisted and concocted the most insane take on my work and is causing unnecessary personal harassment. I'm sure you know what that feels like. So, I come to you civilly and ask for your assistance in this matter before your friend, Kyle, inadvertently causes someone else, some else, who is not as kind as me, to come pay you a real visit this time. Here's to you, Ms. Twyman. Your friends are far worse than your enemies, but we, your enemies, know where you sleep. Peace into you, Jamie Espy.
Twyman did a little research into Jamie Espy and found some evidence which, to her mind, showed that through his website and YouTube channel, Espy had hinted that he has the ability to influence people's minds. She also discovered that Espy owns a campsite in Arizona. The campsite's office was located in a town called Williams. Williams is very close to the location where the actor Isaac Cappy committed suicide by jumping off a bridge. Isaac Cappy was a Hollywood actor who was interested in the QAnon whistleblower controversy on the 4chan website. He stated that he had knowledge about some of his fellow actors being involved with pedophilia. There is evidence through Cappy's debit card history that he visited the town of Williams on the day of his death. Remember that Williams is the town where Jamie Espy's office is located. Isaac Cappy and Tracy Twyman both claimed to have knowledge of child sex trafficking rings and tried to expose it. Isaac Cappy committed suicide within 30 kilometers of Jamie Espy's business location. Tracy Twyman died after an intense online harassment campaign against her by a person claiming to be Jamie Espy. This seems more than a little bit suspicious to me. Before Kyle turned against Twyman, he alerted her to the fact that Jamie Espy had left a series of messages on the Higher Side chat forum, specifically for and about Twyman.
Because these guys had scared me. Because this guy, Jamie, had scared me. This is him bragging about how I disappeared and I finally came back after I learned my lesson, after I deleted all of my content from the internet. She knows the deal now, the bigger picture. Hence, you may think you're going a little cray-cray when the website starts talking to you. I am personally glad to know she did not choose the other option afforded. The alternative option led to the Warner Brothers water tower and absolute death, in case that was too subtle for some folks.
In Twyman's Dead Man Switch video, she shows the messages on the Higher Side chat forum, where this person, Jamie Espy, had stated that he had the knowledge of how to present to an individual a modified or distorted version of anything online, including news websites and social media. So in effect, he controlled what a person saw online and could use this technique to manipulate and gaslight a person into believing that they were going crazy. She believed this is what was happening to her. She believed it so much that she took down her much valued website for fear that it would be used against her in some way, and maybe used to influence those who viewed her content. Tracy Twyman was not new to the deep end of conspiracy. She had been swimming in it for years, for most of her life actually. And when you listen to her interviews, she seems fully coherent and aware of how crazy all of this sounds, and yet she is lucidly adamant that her online world, and perhaps even her mind, was being influenced by some outside agency. I believe something real got to her through the internet. I think someone or something drove her to her end. In a video entitled Twyman Trip 8, The Internet is Compromised, posted by Twyman on July 17, 2018, on her YouTube channel, and so this is about 12 months before her death, and this is also while all this online harassment was happening to her. She runs us through some of her theories about who or what might have been behind all of this online intimidation. She starts by stating that she believes that it is more than just her online accounts being hacked. She feels that her whole online experience has been compromised, and that she is in a type of info prison.
Your enemy would have the power to serve you a distorted version of that website, or keep you from seeing it if they couldn't do that, or if there was something on there that they didn't want you to see. Total takeover of internet experience with fake content, and some of it video content. And this is really the point at which I lose some people and directly get accusations of being, paranoid schizophrenic. And I can understand that this sounds like a hallucination to others. I can understand that, if I had said this 10, 15 years ago, you would have said that. I can't understand at this point, when the technology exists to do this very easily, why people insist on denying the validity of what I'm saying, or at least the possible validity of what I'm saying. In other words, you may be watching a video. I mean, this is the part people find, again, hard to believe. Imagine watching a video, and in the middle of the video, which you presume, of course, was produced before you were watching it, right? Something on YouTube. First of all, not live, right, supposedly. And secondly, produced by people who have no connection to you whatsoever, right? Okay, so you're watching a video, and then in the middle of the video, it sort of talks to you, or the people on it talk to you, and reference something that you were just doing, in a way that's so personal and so specific that there's no way you could deny that's what it was. Imagine that coupled with horrible threats coming from the people giving you these messages in fake content all over the place, threatening you with every imaginable fear, including the worst, happening to you and family members, to the point where not only is it things that you might say out loud to yourself or others, or write, that is being used as fodder to inflame your fears and your imagination of what could happen to you, what they might do to you. But imagine that they could even read your mind.
She talks about how she can't really think of any enemies that she may have made through her journalism or through her books, as the topics that she writes about are on the most part uncontroversial and non-political. As a matter of thoroughness, she suggests that maybe a religious person might have taken offense, but she doesn't really seem convinced by this thought. However, she has no doubt that somebody is performing some sort of psyop on her, and starts contemplating the idea that maybe some sort of rogue AI is involved.
So basically, I'm the victim of a major psyop, it seems to me. Now, to the extent government agencies are involved, I don't know. To the extent that large tech companies, some of which I've been critical of lately, might be involved. Unknown exactly. The idea that we're really dealing with a cabal of hackers, perhaps motivated personally because of membership in certain mystical societies that I may have been writing about over the past years and analyzing their mysteries. Maybe these people don't appreciate what I've said, and maybe some of them work for the tech companies that we all are forced to do business with if we do anything on the internet, and we all do, you know. So any of those people, members of those groups, could very well work for these tech companies and perhaps also government agencies, and also something I consider highly likely, some of these universities where technological innovation is being pushed forward, where experimental techniques such as the recent creation of a psychopath artificial intelligence named Norman, after the Psycho killer in the Psycho movie, which was created by MIT a few weeks ago. Well, I had already theorized that maybe what I'm encountering here is a AI-driven harassment, and I thought about specifically MIT, which is of course known to have a lot of connections with intelligence, and wouldn't surprise me at all if a lot of the members of the orders and mystical groups that I've talked about, perhaps sometimes critically, but mostly just analysis of their mysteries, rituals, literature. But, you know, sometimes they don't like people who aren't members doing that. I really suspect that's what a lot of this has to do with. There's also the potentiality of media companies being involved, and people I know and considered friends.
You can see here that she really had no idea who or what was doing this to her, and she seems to have considered all of the realistic angles from her perspective.
But, you know, I'm also confronted with the fact that, okay, we're dealing with superhuman intelligence here, if nothing else, the ability to think very fast and consider all sorts of variables, including just all this data that the agencies have been collecting on us over these years, and they just basically store it in vaults, and the vast majority of it isn't reviewed by any human ever. Well, now there's but lots of robots that can sort of go back and analyze that stuff, and what everyone thought was just tons and tons of useless data. You know, some of the whistleblowers were saying, like, oh, what's the guy from the FBI who came out and blew the whistle on saying, you know, every single electronic communication is recorded and stored. And he was saying they just have so much information now, it's getting in the way of actually doing any intelligence analysis and figuring out what threats actually are and solving crimes and whatnot, because you just have too much information, he said. Well, that was 10 years ago or so. So the changes that have taken place since then, you know, well, they've got robots now that probably could go back and analyze a lot of the backtracked stuff, as well as analyzing all the new stuff. Because, well, you know, when I told you that the AI interface, the hacker interface that I'm dealing with, seems to read your mind, well, this is all technology that exists, and you get news reports on a daily basis about the advancement of it. And I told you months ago that Facebook came out in a news story that they have a secret building 8. I mean, it's not secret that it exists, and obviously the news story makes it not secret at all, but it's supposed to be hush hush top secret sort of within the company, Not everybody is allowed to talk about what happens there, but what it is, they're building an AI, or have built an AI, as far as I can tell, that can read your mind. And it's not only taking all of the data about you that Facebook has already collected over the years, which gives them the ability to predict a lot of things about how you think, but also recent technology news articles have come out regarding mind reading research that a AI computer system can look into your eyes simply through a camera lens and get a picture in real time, a moving image too, not just a still picture, a moving image in real time, a little movie of what you were thinking about.
Twyman also talks about how these fake accounts, these bots, controlled by a malevolent AI, tried to gaslight her.
Especially early on when this started, many psyops, many different proposed answers were suggested to me by the robots themselves, by the hackers interfacing my internet, where they're trying to suggest that I'm in a completely fake world and, I'm either in the Matrix or on the floating spaceship city that's portrayed in Dark City, which, if you recall, is populated by dead bodies of humans and then these aliens that are doing experiments on them every day, reanimating them and putting different souls into them. This is the sort of thing that has been suggested to me numerous times. Also, the idea of, the singularity already happened, and therefore you're in a false world controlled entirely by robots, and you're the only person in your, again, the Matrix, because you're the only person in your little simulation. It's only your consciousness. Everyone else you're interacting with are just characters in the game. All these things I refuse to believe. Another one, CERN did something, and then they, basically blasted reality open, and now that's why I'm confronting so many obviously fake stories every day, is just because reality is changing constantly, so it's like Mandela effect, mega dose of Mandela every day. But I can tell that's not true. I can tell that that's just a psyop. Okay. But it is the type of psyop that I think they're probably planning on perpetrating on everybody, and they're working their way up to it now.
And then we come to probably the most outrageous theory. The same theory that her friend Kyle insisted was the truth.
Very heavy-handed, my hackers tried to impress upon me that, there's some kind of demon that was released from hell and put into a AI bot system, and so we're really in like the 1,000 years of the Antichrist reign, and we're under the control of this demon AI right now. Where they said that they told me that some kind of demon had been unleashed and attached to an AI system, and that it was what was attacking me. That's what I was supposed to believe. And I don't know. There's demons doing all sorts of things in the world. It could be one of them for sure, I suppose.
Now, this theory is the most bizarre of them all. And I don't think she actually believed that she was in some demon-created digital world. She just saw it as more gaslighting from whatever agency was attacking her. But I do like the idea of a non-human intelligence manipulating humanity through our most interconnected means of communication. Because paranormal reports are full of strange human manipulations and communications. I remember in particular, I did a video a couple of years ago in which I shared a story about a school-age boy who bumbled into a long-term communication, sort of a relationship, I guess, with this personality who claimed to be the spirit of a deceased girl called Annabelle. This communication was through the old AOL Messenger app, back in the early 2000s, I think it was. And Annabelle had the uncanny ability to reply to his questions in lengthy form within an instant. It would be impossible for a human prankster to read the question, formulate an answer, and then type it out instantaneously. Twyman describes a more modern and more technically savvy version of this instantaneous communication and presentation.
You can't be sure. The only one thing I'm sure of is that a lot of the accounts that I'm looking at now are bots, bot created. And when I look back at some of the channels I was enjoying just a few months ago, and I remember thinking like, wow, there's so many YouTubers that I've never heard of before that all of a sudden are really popular. I wonder how I ignored this stuff, and what I would have thought is years leading up to them, building their popularity over time. Instead, I don't know, they just seem to appear on the scene, at least from my perspective. All of a sudden they're popular, they already have a following and a back history, but even the bots themselves will sometimes, or the characters I suspect are bots, make reference to that, they only started a year and a half ago or something, or usually around the election. I guess what my point is that I suspected these channels were sort of shill channels before. Now I'm realizing that the channels could be entirely bots. In other words, even the character that's sitting there in front of the camera talking to you, analyzing things for you, could be a bot, because we know that AIs now can generate videos. They can create, they are characters, right? They're like robot characters, intelligent characters in a computer program, and that they can replicate themselves and create variations of themselves, and then they can work on a team together, and they can generate, for one thing, what looks like a physical body. They have a voice that sounds like a human voice, and CGI an entire environment, whether it be a room or an outdoor environment, for them to play in and do a show. And they can auto-generate a show that would take humans, a crew of humans, a day, a week, a month, or more to produce, with thousands of hours of work, hundreds or thousands. They could do all that essentially instantly. There have been news stories about this very thing being tested out in universities and with government contractors, military contractors, and we've been hearing warnings from people on the news that, hey, there's quite possibly fake videos that are going to come out of supposedly news events, but that they never happened, and that it could literally just be all generated in a computer, and you could implicate real people, famous people, or not so famous people, even, as long as you know what they look like and you have their voice print sample of them talking. The AIs can generate a voice that is almost identical to, and it was really, the difference is imperceptible to most humans. They can make a fake version of your voice or mine or anybody's, and then they can make a video person, a CGI person, act out scenes that looks exactly like you. Or they could just create a totally different character of a person that never existed. Because we're all being bombarded by so much conflicting information all the time, most of these stories will come out and no one, some people might express incredulity, but no one will ever figure out the truth or be able to prove it. And even if they did, they wouldn't be able to get the message out. Because what I'm telling you is that it's very easy for these bot programs to stop the message from getting out. They can intercept an email or a post, either make it so nobody sees it or change it. And you wouldn't even know. They could change a post or an email that you sent, you put up, and you might just see your original version from your end. And you wouldn't know that actually someone has intercepted it and rewritten it to be offensive or Just say something you never would say, and you don't know why all of a sudden your friends hate you and are unfriending you. You don't know why all of a sudden you just lost half your audience. You don't know why you're getting death threats now from people that you thought were your friends.
Twyman then goes on to mention how it's becoming common to see teenage and even adult suicides due to social media bullying. She proposes the idea that because these rogue AI bots have the means to shape your online reality, they can make it seem as though all of your friends have turned against you, and also make it look as though you have said horrible things about your friends, causing genuine, real-life relationships to fall apart. And this all seems very plausible to me. I have no doubt that humans have the means to hack other people's accounts or use fake accounts to cause this sort of trauma for others. But imagine the ease with which an artificial intelligence within the system itself could manipulate all of this data. Twyman also says that she thinks she may have had phone conversations with artificially generated voices who mimicked her friends. Maybe this was the case with her friend Kyle, when he seemed to turn against her. I find this aspect of her story interesting too, as I have also done a video in the past called Freaky Phone Calls, which deals exactly with this subject. Towards the end of the Trip 8 recording, Twyman starts talking about some of the research she was involved in, which she believes may also have triggered her harassment. She was analysing modern pop music and discovering coded subliminal messages.
Without going into too much detail, those were the kinds of codes I was finding in a lot of the music videos. It was just that music videos, analyzing music videos was part of some of the controversial material that preceded my shutting down of my website, the hacking and whatnot. Well, they were the threat in a lot of these music videos. So anyway, the threat in a lot of them is about making you kill yourself. That the targeted person will be made to kill themselves by just being subjected to overwhelming interference and manipulation and psychological torture that is known to have that result, in a large number of cases, to the point where it's predictable. Well, I hope that's not going to happen to me, and I'm going to say, I have no intention of letting that happen.
She recorded these words 12 months before her death. Her last interview that I could easily find was uploaded to the Melt podcast on the 6th of June 2019, but it was recorded in January 2019. So it was recorded about 6 months after the harassment and about 6 months before her death. Before I play you a couple of sound bites from the show, it has to be mentioned that Twyman had been a long-time practitioner of the Ouija board. She claims to have been in communication with the demon Baphomet, among others, who she came to know very well. A book was written called Baphomet, The Temple Mystery Unveiled, and she claims that some of the information she discovered about the Templars were initially taught to her by the demon Baphomet, and later proven to be true. She also released a book called Clock Shavings, which is a collection of the spirit communications she has recorded during the many seances she attended.
Where did your interest is it's a major theme? Baphomet keeps reappearing. Where did all of that begin?
Actually, from the Ouija board experience, because we'd been talking to Cain, identifying himself as Cain from the Bible, and also identifying himself as several other historical figures, like in the ancient world in Mesopotamia, saying he was the same character.
So you never had a doubt that it wasn't some trickster spirit trying to pull one over on you. You felt like it was the real deal.
Well, I mean, Baphomet is a trickster spirit, so I have no idea what the motivation really was. I assume it was trying to get something from me, but I couldn't say exactly what the whole scheme is.
And later during the interview, this.
I'm not on the big enemy list here, but I'm being interfered with enough, and there are some subjects I've gotten into in the past that did get me like a lot of negative attention. I won't get into that, but it's like the point is just that this is happening to everybody.
Was that a reference to the online harassment and craziness that she endured 6 months earlier? She seems very keen to avoid the subject. I wonder why. There is a fellow from Ireland called Thomas Sheridan, who is a long-time occult researcher and author, who has some very interesting ideas about the occult and spirituality. Here, in a 2016 podcast, he talks about the same idea that Kyle had just before his mental breakdown, and that Twyman herself later came to believe as a possibility. I think Sheridan sums it up nicely here.
Now, those of you who've been following my work for a while know that I have a theory that because of the creation of the digital electromagnetic spectrum, demons, whatever you want to call them, the jinn and so on, can enter this world for that reason, because it's an algorithm-based world, and therefore they're able to absorb themselves into it. I've now come to the conclusion that it's quite possible that many of these bizarre Facebook accounts that you end up being friended with are not actually human beings. They might actually be entities who are actually manifesting on your Facebook page as an account of a stolen picture. It's a kind of a changeling type thing in the electromagnetic spectrum. If you want to talk about dark science and dark magic, look no further than digital. If you were to stick a radio telescope anywhere in this universe and point it anywhere in this universe, the only place you will ever pick up a digital signal is on this planet. Nowhere else. They do not exist in nature. The universe is analog. We are analog. Magic is analog. But unfortunately, the demon world has allowed, probably even helped create, this digital world, and these entities have been able to move into it. Entities that were once consigned to the Middle East are now all over your Facebook page and your internet forums, whipping up smear campaigns, getting you to into the most debased ways of sharing photographs of babies in the Middle East with their heads hanging out. The same demons who demand sacrifice are now preying on you. And some of you have taken part in this stuff. I've got news for you. You are fucked.
Before I finish this video, there is one more very important piece of evidence I have to share. This is some correspondence between Tracy and her friend Steve through Facebook, I believe it is. These messages were sent 16 days before Tracy's death and show that, although she never publicized it, the harassment continued right up until her death. Hey Steve, I just tried to send you a message through Twitter, but I don't see it listed under the sent messages. Did you get it? Thanks. It was a link to this video, which I made to show just you and one other person. It's about a person who owns a private campground in Williams, Arizona, right where Cappy was just before he died. This person sent me many messages threatening me and my son, after I exposed a bunch of child traffickers on YouTube. He also took credit for having hacked my computer and online accounts, and accurately described in these public confessions how he did it. I am still afraid of him and his friends, which is why I don't want to talk in public. Everything that I experienced during these attacks last year matches up with what happened to Cappy before his death, and I had already told Cappy about these people in Williams. I think he might have gone out there to investigate, or they brought him to that area, because they knew they could get away with murdering him out there. Last Tuesday, the campground was listed as permanently closed all of a sudden, which seems an extraordinary coincidence to me. I've gathered evidence that something very bad was going on out there. From the Twitter feed I looked at, it appeared that a large percentage of the people who went out there to camp were Turks. Why would dozens of businessmen from Turkey be going out to the middle of the desert in Arizona to camp? At a campground that, according to reviews, was rather shitty. And according to one reviewer, they were chased away by the owner wielding a gun and threatening to murder them. There is a mind control aspect to this. The campground owner boasted of his abilities in this department. It would explain a lot about Cappy's actions in the end. Anyway, I'll leave you to absorb this. The campground is shown on the map. The office was listed as being in Williams. I've got an unlisted video that I managed to find where the host is explaining how to find the unmarked dirt road that leads out to where the campground is. Someone should go out there with cadaver dogs. And Steve replies, wow, there was a lot of freaky stuff in the area, like the ORO Ranch. Want me to publish this as an anonymous tip? Seems very pertinent. And Tracy replies, it is pertinent, but I'm afraid to have it published. The second wave of threats to my family, the ones posted on Facebook, came after I mentioned the first wave on an audio recording posted on my own website, which I'm sure has considerably less traffic than yours. I have no protection here. They know where I live, as they've proven in their messages to me. Someone was even sent to my house a few months ago to deliver a message to me personally. If information about them all of a sudden went public again, they are likely to know that I am behind it. I honestly don't know what to do with the information, so I just decided to show it to a couple of people who are also gathering evidence on this subject. And that's all the information I've got to date. I'm sure there's plenty more out there, but that's all I've got for now. If I come across anything else, I'll let you guys know. Have a good one.